habe nicht wirklich drauf geachtet, wer alles da war. Ich war zu sehr damit beschäftigt, mir zu überlegen, wie ich alle im Beiser vergasen würde. Es ist schwierig, logistisch gesehen, wegen der hohen Decken.
You are listening to the commander of one of the largest concentration camps in history, and what he's saying is real. Sometimes he would think about what would be the most efficient way to eliminate the people inside the room, because he is obsessed with what he calls his job.
He never would say, I'm guilty, or he said in the Nuremberg trial, this is what I have to do. This was my work.
It was his job.
His job.
And he lives next to one of the walls of the camps. But the most important wall in the movie is not that one, but the one that separates us, the audience, from fiction. And the question I bring today is, what happens when the director decides to break that wall?
Our central principle was to show our similarities to the perpetrators, rather than our similarities to the victims, and the discomfort of that, and the warning of that.
Why does the commander of the largest concentration camp in history suddenly succumb to nausea before his gaze shifts into the shadows, leading to the editing cutting to a shot of the museum's current entrance, previously under his command as the camp? When he looks, is he peering into the darkness or is he gazing at us? Perhaps that's why the following shot, also dark, breaks the line between fiction and reality, as it belongs to the world of the audience. That's the reason why the entire museum sequence is shot in a documentary style. And that particular shot, that opening door, starts as a point of light in the darkness through which it seems like we are observing Hoss as some sort of peephole. It's our viewpoint, as the audience, and Hoss's gaze into the camera is him catching us. But before we continue discussing this, I want you to look at this woman for a few seconds and tell me what you see. I'll start. A woman in her 40s is applying makeup in front of a mirror. It's an everyday scene, could be my mother or yours. She's an ordinary woman engaged in a daily routine. In fact, the entire movie unfolds based on everyday actions. As Glazer put it, he's trying to show us our similarities with this family, not our differences. It's for this very reason that Glazer chooses to present the family in an ordinary way at a birthday party, and only subtly reveals at 9 minutes and a half into the film that they live next to a concentration camp. The scene is filmed like any other scene in the movie, with the purest normalcy, just like the filming of the woman facing the mirror. In these shots, like in any other in the film, there is no aestheticism. It's just natural light with a distant camera, or rather, several cameras.
We filmed the movie with sometimes 10 cameras simultaneously, and Jonathan described it in the beginning. It's like Big Brother in a Nazi house, and we had these different cameras on different angles in different rooms. Sometimes we shot in 2 or 3 rooms simultaneously.
This is Christian Friedel, who portrays Rudolf Hoss. And this is his wife, who lived along with her family next to the camp's wall. She's trying on lipstick, probably belonging to one of the victims. We don't know how long his actress, Sandra has been sitting there. Perhaps she forgot where the camera was, or rather she normalized it much like her character normalized the constant screams and gunfire coming from the other side of the wall. And it's not just her who normalizes it. Everyone in the family has, and the only one who seems to be affected by it is the baby. Perhaps is the last bastion of innocence in that house. Because even if he doesn't understand the sounds, he feels them. In the same way that Jonathan Glazer didn't understand the German dialogues on the set, but he perceived them.
But he had a good feeling for the language. He understands us, and we trust him a lot because he felt the right tone, or that was really amazing.
Because sound doesn't need to be understood, and Glazer exploits this idea to the fullest. Sound needs to be felt. It operates on a much more abstract level than the image. You can look at this and tell it's the image of a flower merging with a solid red screen. But how do you explain this? You can't. You can only feel it. And this is a constant throughout the entire film, and how it redefines everyday images through sound. Because this is a movie that deals with how one universe contaminates the other through sound. Recently I discussed in a video how Come and See recontextualized war imagery into a narrative. It proposed cinema as an ally in making sense of images depicting horror. But the Zone of Interest has a different aim. It doesn't want to make a film solely about horror, which is why it avoids images of the victims and constructs them only through off-screen sound.
Crucial and important that said we need to build scaffoldings for this, what is going to happen in the viewer's head. Everything comes from the concept that just camera as a one eye and just observing, no judging.
Rather, it alludes to the horrors of the concentration camp through elements that remind us of them, like the shower above the pool that Joss turns on just as the gas chambers are being activated. It's not literal, it's evocative. And that's because it doesn't aim to make a film about horror, but about its normalization and our passivity towards it. Because all war movies tend to tell you that you could be a victim. But what's disturbing about this one is that it tells you straight to your face that you could be a perpetrator, or at the very least, a silent accomplice. That's why this woman's shot is so terrifying. She has normalized evil, and the disturbing part is that Jonathan Glazer not only shows us the concentration camp from a distance, always on this side of the wall, but also makes us normalize the sounds in the same way that the characters do. By the time the movie reaches the 30-minute mark, you've become accustomed to the sounds much like the people of that era likely did. And at some point, the movie transforms us into a little complicit in this passivity.
Natürlich werde ich dich vermissen, das ist doch klar. Du kannst ja auch nach Hause kommen, wenn du frei hast.
It's clear that this is a family with a particular evilness. I can say I'm sure I wouldn't be part of it, but I really can't rule out that I might be a worker in the house or a neighbor. And that's the unsettling part. Sure, we can play the role of heroes and say we would go against the tide, but the truth is, when evil is so systematized, passivity is the rule, and morality is the exception to it. That's why Glazer decides to film the gesture of the girl who distributed hidden apples to the prisoners in negative, with inverted colors. Not only because her figure shines like a single light in the darkness, but also because he films goodness as something exceptional, as an image from another world. And this is the part that disturbs me the most about the movie, and what truly unsettles me about Hoss's gaze. He's breaking the fourth wall, of course, and the museum shots are a defeat for him, as he finally descends into darkness like someone descending into hell. But in his gaze, there's something even more unsettling. A warning. And a question. Where would we have been in that situation? Where do we stand amidst the ongoing atrocities that persist? Which side of the wall are we on?